Hello, welcome to the latest edition of Dbe TV News. Thank you for watching us every Friday on the Dbe TV channel 122 on OpenView at 12 in the afternoon. Remember, you can also watch this bulletin on the Department of Basic Education's YouTube channel. I am Tsehohacho Moagi. In our top stories this week, Deputy Minister Dr. Regina Mhaule hands over NSNP prizes to the winning school and district in the Free State. The Department of Basic Education has intensified the monitoring of infrastructure projects. Learners in KwaZulu-Natal received donations from the United Arab Emirates Embassy. Youth Impact identifies a new educational approach to assist learners and their caregivers. The Eastern Cape Education Department mourns the death of 6 learners killed in a horrific accident. The National School Nutrition Program, which feeds a nutritious meal to over 9 million learners daily, has emphasized the importance of compliance from all involved. Let's start here. Deputy Minister Dr. Regina Mhaule has congratulated schools in the Free State and in KwaZulu-Natal who have received the National School Nutrition Program Awards. Dr. Mhaule was in the Free State to hand over the prizes to the Best School and Best District categories. Since its inception in 2010, the NSNP Best School Awards has been recognizing the contribution and role the NSNP is playing to improve the quality of learning in schools by providing a daily nutritious meal and showcasing the best practices while also providing advocacy on the program. Dr. Mhaule spoke about the importance of sharing the good story of the NSNP.
As the department in general, we are focusing on one of the key highlights of the program, the National School Nutrition Best Schools Award, where we recognize the hard work that provinces, schools and districts put into the programs to motivate all schools to improve the program and ensure learners' quality education is supported by adequate nourishment. Emphasis for adjudication is placed on hygiene and safety practices, nutritious meals, food gardens, and nutrition education in schools.
All schools nominated for the NSNP Awards receive equipment to assist and encourage them to continue feeding the learners well.
All the schools that are nominated are going to receive industrial double-door fridge procured by the department, 60 liters stainless steel casserole pots, industrial steel trolley with mesh, polished stainless steel gastronom, set of 3 polished stainless steel servers, 4-burner gas stove, all the schools, electronic platform scale, set of 3 large colorful cutting boards, stainless steel tables with under shelf, double bucket with ringer.
Mhaule was not alone. She was joined by the Free State Premier Sisi Ntombela and the Provincial Education MEC Tate Mahwe. The MEC praised the work done by the NSNP in educating learners through various ways.
And this issue, they must also include, as part of NSNP, they must include food gardens. It's powerful because Banabana now, I'm also to education where they require photosynthesis. Now they would have to go and seed on the ground happening in their own gardens. And they can provide food, they can see what production means. They can see that there's a relationship between 1 and 100 if you do something to this one. You put one seed and then that tree and you You support the seed in the soil, give it water, give it care. At the end, it gives you 100 corns. And therefore, that is what you must be able to know.
To this now, the Basic Education Department says it's well on its way to reach its target of completing appropriate school infrastructure by the end of this financial year. The Sanitation Appropriate for Education or SAFE program was launched in August of 2018 to provide appropriate sanitation facilities to schools dependent on basic pit toilets. The current scope on the SAFE program includes over 2,800 schools dependent on basic pit toilets. Of these, sanitation projects at about 1,700 schools have already progressed to practical completion and provided a full set of appropriate toilets to such schools. The remaining sanitation projects are scheduled for completion before the 2022-23 financial year. The Accelerated School Infrastructure Delivery Initiative, ASIDI, was launched in 2010 to address specific infrastructure backlogs.
The Department of Basic Education has made great strides to provide appropriate sanitation facilities in schools around the country. The building of schools is also taking place and it is progressing. In every province, there's a school that is being handed over to the community on any given day, which is a clear sign that the department and the sector as a whole is making the issue of school infrastructure a priority. Yes, we acknowledge that there are challenges and a huge backlog remains, but a lot of work is also taking place, and we believe that together with the communities, if we could take care of the infrastructure that is being built all over the country, it would assist the department.
The department has stepped up the monitoring of the projects to ensure that they are completed on time, to specifications and on budget.
The Director General has stepped up the issue of monitoring of the school infrastructure projects that are taking place across the country, and he is now working day and night to ensure that the service providers are working overtime to ensure that these projects are completed on time, to budget and to specifications. So you will see him monitoring even at night. All of this is done to ensure that we bring these appropriate facilities to schools where they are much needed.
After the break, we find out more about donations made to a school in KwaZulu-Natal by the United Arab Emirates Embassy.
Research is showing that NSFAS supporting students on average are performing better than non-NSFAS supported students, which is also something that is very important because it says this almost complete wraparound program by government of NSFAS students is become very important. Also, the change from NSFAS being a loan to being a bursary has also made a very big difference because it has now even opened access to students, even in those institutions that were unaffordable in the earlier phase of NSFAS. Universities that have been more expensive, like University of Cape Town, Stellenbosch, Wits University, Pretoria, there's been a huge increase of the numbers of black students from poor families directly as a result of NSFAS and the kinds of difference that it has actually made.
The National School Nutrition Program, the NSNP, is a government intervention program aimed at enhancing learner well-being and learner participation in education. The NSNP aims to improve food security for learners by serving a nutritious meal. The NSNP focuses on the food safety from farm to plate. This food value chain ensures that safe and nutritious meals are served to learners. Compliance at all critical control points is non-negotiable so that the end users receive safe and quality meals. This video series promotes and emphasizes good food handling practices throughout the NSNP food value chain. Strict compliance to health regulations needs to be followed during storage and transportation of food. All warehouses and school kitchens must have a certificate of acceptability from the local municipality that shows compliance with health and safety regulations. Schools need to check the quality and quantity of food during delivery. Food must be transported in closed vehicles to adhere to safety regulations. This video series showcases the NSNP food value chain, how the program supports good food handling practices, food safety compliance in critical control points such as the warehouses, delivery vehicles, storage, preparation, cooking, serving, and disposal requirements. Storerooms in schools must be clean, well ventilated, and secure. Food items should be checked for expiry dates before preparation. The volunteer food handlers prepare meals on all school days following a provincial menu. The program intends to address barriers of teaching and learning associated with hunger and malnutrition. On a daily basis, more than 9 million children receive a nutritious meal through the program. Meals provided to learners follow the food-based dietary guidelines as stipulated by the Department of Health, which offer a variety of food items including a daily protein dish, starch dish, as well as a fresh vegetable or fruit. Food waste should be discarded in bins with lids to keep rodents and flies away. The joy of learners taking part in school activities, knowing there is a nourishing meal served daily through the National School Nutrition Program. It shows every child is valued in the education system, where their potential can be developed towards building a prosperous future. The Embassy of the United Arab Emirates, in partnership with the Basic Education Department, have committed to donate material to 20 schools throughout the country. For 28 years now, there have been diplomatic relations between the UAE and South Africa. The UAE Embassy will be traveling throughout the country to hand out various materials to schools. These include schools which are either in need of assistance of various equipment, those with learners from impoverished backgrounds who may need school uniform or even shoes. Recently, the embassy, accompanied by the department, went to Umgano Primary School in KwaZulu-Natal to donate various items such as sanitary towels, shoes, and other items to assist learners who have been affected by the floods.
My belief personally is that we cannot speak about empowerment if we don't address period poverty as well, because it's one of the things that are lacking in most of the communities, as we know. So we also bought sanitary towels for the school. And then the nice part, we bought school shoes for all the students in the school. So everybody is gonna get a pair of shoes. So, by the way, it's genuine leather, ne? It's not plastic. Ne? It's written outside there, genuine leather, so proper quality. Ne? You're dealing with the UAE, so they can't give you cheap things, Hong Kong things. Ne? Genuine leather. Exactly.
Representatives from the Department of Basic Education have welcomed the donations, saying they are hopeful the partnership will benefit the learners the most.
On behalf of the ministry, it's just to come here and say we thank you, we support the partnership, we want to work with you in collaboration to assist in the unlocking whatever gem is there. We go with you from here onwards. We started with the ambassador in Johannesburg, so we want to work with you all step of the way.
Youth Impact, an organization that delivers programs by the youth for the youth, found an approach to reach households and educate learners during the lockdown and the rotational learning caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The organization believes that it is not enough for proven messages to exist and be delivered, but they have to be delivered right. To this end, Youth Impact deploys youthful, energetic local facilitators. The organization says due to the pandemic, many learners could not get the much-needed education they deserved.
I was involved in a study that provided some of the world's first evidence on distance learning in the pandemic. It was in Botswana, and we actually found an ICT approach that did work. So some things can work. And what we did was actually something very simple. We realized that while households did not have high access to the internet, and so internet-based approaches would be difficult, and a lot of households were not actually tuning into the television and radio programming, a lot of households had access to mobile phones, very simple mobile phones, and were very comfortable receiving a phone call, a simple phone call. So we don't often think about phoning a friend or phoning a household as ICT, but it is. And it's a technology people are comfortable with and familiar with. And that's what we did. We actually sent a simple SMS message to households. And then we also did a 20-minute phone call once a week to a household, called the primary caregiver and their primary student child in grades 3 through 5, and provided some foundational skills tutoring over the phone. And it was tremendously successful, actually. So we saw results showing that it provided the equivalent of a full year of high-quality instruction for $100, which is extraordinarily cost-effective.
But how was this method, making a phone call to a household to offer free educational support and instruction, received?
First, caregivers were hesitant. Some actually thought this was a scam. They couldn't believe that they were going to receive free support and instruction. And they weren't sure what this was because it was a little bit new and different. And actually one parent even called the Minister of Education directly to say, is this real? The minister said yes, because we were thankfully in close collaboration with the government on this effort. So there was hesitancy. A lot of households, there was sometimes not as much comfort with instruction. They thought this was the job of the teacher. So there was this barrier to entry. But once we got started, and actually 70% of households enrolled, which is very high, then people got really excited about it. They saw their child learning, their confidence was growing, they were starting to really get into it. By the end, we asked a question, how many caregivers wanted to keep receiving the program for their child, even if schools reopened? Again, this was happening during the lockdown. 99% of caregivers wanted to keep receiving the program. So I've been doing research for a long time, and I've actually never seen that number in real life. So that is a tremendous demand for this approach, showing that actually caregivers were keen and eager and hungry to be engaged. And prior to the pandemic, a lot of engagement was a bit more information-based, report cards being sent home, parent-teacher conferences. This is one of the first times caregivers were asked to really engage in instruction directly and given tools to do that. And we saw that while there was a barrier to entry, once crossed, enormous demand and success in doing that. So we're excited about more caregiver engagement in the future.
The organization says they are excited to have more interactions and engagements with caregivers about this approach. For more information, visit youth-impact.org. Now, when we return, we hear from the Limpopo Education MEC Poli Bushielo about the Provincial Targeting Talent Annual Family Workshop.
Everyone has their own definition of what education is and means. What is yours? TED is a show that seeks to challenge the status quo by inviting guests that have a role and an inspiring story to tell about their journey in education.
A lot of it is not learner-centered.
This show seeks to dive in deeper conversations in quest of answering the big question, why education when there's so much to do outside of it? Why invest energy and resources that are so impactful in our society?
You're seeing a cartoon character that looks like you counting to 10.
This show airs on Dbe TV channel 122. In case you miss it, binge watch it on YouTube, Dbe TV. And also don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms, simply Dbe TV.
I am a nurturer, like you.
Real men stand against gender-based violence.
I get hurt, like you.
If I am a victim of violence, I too will not be ashamed to report violence and abuse.
I hate it when someone violates me, like you.
In a violent situation, there is power in walking away. I will not take part in fights at school.
All I want is to feel safe, to feel loved, and to be free to show love. Like you.
I cry when I'm hurt, because to feel is to be human. I pledge to be more open about my emotions.
Make it part of the new normal for young boys to be nurtured and loved, to freely express themselves and to show love in a safe, inclusive way. We have different gender identities, but first, we are human. If you need assistance to help your child, contact Childline on 08000 55 555.
The Eastern Cape Education Department is devastated after the death of 6 learners from Ndamase Secondary School. The learners, aged between 14 and 18, died in a horrific accident on Tuesday the 14th of June while walking home from school. 13 others sustained serious injuries and were transported to a nearby hospital. The accident happened after a collision between a truck and a bakkie on the T30 road outside Mthatha. The Eastern Cape Transport Department understands that the 2 vehicles collided and veered off the road. They hit the learners, killing 6 of them. The Education Department has activated the psychosocial support services to assist the learners and educators, including the bereaved families. District officials have also visited the families and the school to offer their support. Education MEC Fundile Kade has sent his heartfelt condolences to the bereaved families, schooling community, and learners. Police are now investigating a case of culpable homicide. Over to Limpopo now, where Limpopo Education MEC Poli Bushielo says it is important to have learners who are critical thinkers. She was speaking during the Provincial Targeting Talent Annual Family Workshop held on the 11th of June in collaboration with Wits University and ETDP CETA. About 128 secondary school learners from 19 Limpopo schools in previously marginalized communities, together with their parents or guardians, principals and educators from the 10 education districts, attended the workshop. Targeting Talent Program is an initiative conceptualized and implemented since 2007. The program aims to increase the academic, social, and psychological preparation of learners with academic potential, primarily from socio-economically disadvantaged backgrounds, as well as assisting the learners in mathematics, life sciences, physical science, and overall psychosocial preparation prior to actual university entry for a period of 3 years.
We are focusing especially on math, science, and technology. You can see we're there. We are also focusing on making sure that the learners that we produce will be needed in the economy of our country. They will be able to get jobs, and they will be useful to our country in rebuilding it. So we are very fortunate to have partnered with Wits and ETDP, and it really shows. I would not miss this for anything. For sure, you saw learners when they came there in front, saying the impact of this program. For sure, you cried a tear. Their confidence levels, and it just shows you that the learner is just not in class only, but the whole learner, the confidence, how they respect time now and how they see things differently. What I love is when one learner said the critical thinking, how they've taught it. So this is the kind of education system that we want in our country. If we can have critical thinkers, innovators, the world is moving. I think we're already the 5G. So we need this kind of learners to be able to assist us.
The National School Nutrition Program continues to urge all suppliers to ensure they remain compliant so each learner receives safe and quality meals. The program is aimed at enhancing learner well-being and participation in school and intends to address barriers to teaching and learning associated with hunger and malnutrition. The food value chain ensures safe, nutritious meals are served to learners.
Part of the compliance with the kitchen is good ventilation, and when we observe, we see that we have great window here which brings in clean fresh air and air going outside, and also the use of these stainless steel tables, tables that are not rusted. This is a great a way of complying with food safety. And also the display of this poster, which shows that in case of food poisoning case here at the school, the food handlers actually, they know who to contact, from your environmental health practitioners to the district coordinator, and refer.
We have a sample. She spoke about in case of poisoning, where we track. Every day what we do is that we put the sample in case there is something that is reported. Maybe a child is not feeling well. If they want to trace it back to the school, we offer the sample so that it can be tested. So it is kept for a day. The next day we prepare the sample from the meal of the next day. We will have breakfast. It's what they ate. And this container is meant for lunch. And we have our stations, all these posters, when the food handlers go for training, when they come back, they come with posters. We display them so that as and when they work, they learn and they refer.
And so that's how we end this bulletin this week on Channel 122 on OpenView and on YouTube. But before we go, we are encouraging parents to take part in school governing body meetings. There are over 25,000 public schools in the country, and every school has an SGB that is democratically elected. By participating in the SGB elections and meetings, every parent has the chance to be part of government's drive to improve learning outcomes and reach the goal of quality education in all our schools. Thank you for watching.